another fine episode of How the Sod Turns. Yes, we're back in this little field of ancient sheep pasture of our friends the Bennetts, and part of the agreement, I'm taking off but all the grass hay that this field could ever muster, and now it's time to fix it. And for all those who are new to the channel, the backstory to this is, I don't know, it might be 10 acres total on a good day, but they used to have some animals and did a little bit of farming. Meanwhile, Keith was a mechanic for a school bus fleet, and a damn good one, I'd major. So they had, like I said, they had animals, and then I'm not really sure what was the backstory to all of that, but then they didn't have animals, so it sat, just grew grass and gophers and wood ticks. And then another neighbor, who will remain nameless, because let's not do that, as much as I tempted to out them, they said that they would do something with the field, so they came and kind of did along the lines of this, where they ripped it up, and then they stopped coming back, and they left it kind of like this. I don't even know if they got to this stage. I think they just gave it like one rip, and then they left. And left it in all heck of a mess. So then it just grew back over, and that's where I enter. Trying to cut hay on here, doing like 2 miles an hour, which is not financially a great option. So I've taken quite a few dozen bales off of this field, and just said, no, enough's enough. We're going to fix this field. We're going to push back the bush. See, there you go. I will actually push bush. I've done what I can, but I think I'm going to rent in one of those mulchers for the front of the skid steer and knock the rest of these saplings back, because it's all just those little poplars. Anyway, so the plan is that we are going to put this down to combining oats, feed oats, for a couple of years, get it cleaned up, to get it leveled off, and then I will undersow probably the third year, undersow it back down to an alfalfa, meadowgrass, timothy, hairy vetch, stuff like that. And we'll put it into the rotation as long as the Bennetts are okay with that. So every few years it'll get ripped up, and we'll run a crop through it and rejuvenate it. That way this little piece of property will always get used to the maximum of its potential. The issue I have with this is, it was in such a terrible state to begin with. I can never get going fast enough to really bash out these turfs, and it being old sheep pasture, the turf is very thick. I don't know if you can make it out on the camera. This part here is a little heavier moisture, so it actually broke up really well, but if you look there, it's bad. So yes, probably if I'd sprayed it out, it might have taken some less breaking up, because it would have stopped trying to grow back. But I digress. I don't have a sprayer, not yet. Probably going to get one. I'm trying to get one actually at the moment, an old pull type sprayer, because I'd like to get a classic. And so yeah, we're just gonna hit this a couple of times and then bring the harrows over and really bash away at it, and then at least get a crop in it for this year. And then hopefully, because I know if you put a crop through it, it'll help get the turf broken up. Just gotta watch not plug up the shanks with the big chunks of turf, because it's hard. Oh yeah, I almost got stuck over there. Jeez, heavy moisture down through their base. So, that's where we're at. So I'm going to get back to pulverizing my kidneys, and I'll see you in the next clip. She is a hard pull. Like the parts over there where it could literally start seeding. And over here, I don't know if you can pick that up. Seems to be a sort of a vein of moisture comes down through the paddock here. The turf is almost a foot thick. A foot thick. It's insane. I've never seen turf that thick before. I don't know if it's because it was sheep pasture or what it was. But I've got that cultivator when I get to those parts buried to get underneath the turf to pick it up, pull it up in big bunches so it can dry out. Yes, it probably would have been easier if we could have sprayed it out and then dusted it up a bunch of times. I don't have a sprayer. I'm going to, but I don't have one. So, there she's grunting. That's 160 horse grunting. So yeah, you can see it, the low spot here. The problem being, as you can see right there, when I was disking, the disc would just right up over the top of it. Wish we wouldn't dig into it. Now we're digging into it. You see it's just coming up in chunks. It's crazy. Crazy, I tell you. So I'm hoping this will be the last time I have to rip it. I'm going to go drop this off and then come back and get the discs that are sitting right there. And then I'll come back over, run the outsides, do whatever I can do with the discs. And then after that, I will bring the harrows over. I'm going to try and sod bust. So basically go as fast as I can with the harrows, over and over, working my way out, overlapping, and try and break all this sod down. That's what I always call sod busting. Because I'm hoping to get this seeded here the next week. Hoping. Fingers crossed. Yep, and it's that bumpy. If ever there was an image of happiness. Yeah, sitting in the doorway where the wind is funneling straight through. Meanwhile, it's like 32 degrees out there. They're loving it. This lot's passed out drunk. Hello, hello, Mr. Dog. Mr. Dog, how much you pay your new guy? Is $20? It's too much. It's too much. I had to go in there, didn't I? Oh. So yeah, back farming with the legendary Dallas Strachan. And most of you are gonna go, I have no idea what the tweak that means. And that's okay. You're not really supposed to. Some of you keen-eyed subscribers will know what I'm talking about from a video long time ago. Dallas Strachan is what I call this harrow barn. Now this is an ancient harrow barn. I actually don't even know what it's called, what brand it is. We bought these harrows for those new to the channel. We bought these harrows a long time ago. The backstory is there's a great family up at Hamiota called the Strackens. There was the dad, and then there was the two brothers, two sons of the dad, because that's why I would say the dad. Oh my god, it's so hot today. Just so you know, I might have sunstroke. Yes, I know I have sunstroke on cloudy days too. Anyway, so the dad had retired, and then very sadly, one of the sons, Dallas, had been diagnosed. I would be telling a lie if I said to you what the disease was, but it was like ALS, I think it was. If somebody knows, please put it in the comment section. I don't mean any disrespect by it. Needless to say, he didn't have to suffer long. We'll put it that way. But I went to the sale, and my old late 40s Chevy grain truck that's in the bale yard, which we will be using, hopefully, in this very field with the pull-type combine for my period correct farming style. So that grain truck came with the harrows, and the actual cultivator that was doing this field also is from the Strachan family. So I am literally farming with Dallas Strachan. So if anybody who knows the Strackens, or any of the Strackens happen to be watching, I hope you take a little bit of comfort in that Dallas's equipment is still working hard, and how to put a crop in. So yeah, that's kind of the backstory on these. Like I said, cultivator, grain truck, and the weird part is most of the equipment that we have at the Shire comes with a story. Like the old red tractor that I put on the pull-type combine is old John Garton's tractor that was then owned by Stan Knankerville, who was an old farm shop mechanic. So, like I said, that tractor has been in this area for gosh knows how long. Yeah, I can't remember. There's a lot of other pieces. I'll fill it in as I go. But basically what I'm going to do here is I'm going to overlap the harrows, so I'm trying to keep the tractor on the last pass and run half the harrows into the rough stuff. And then hopefully I can get faster and faster. Because the key to sod busting is to hit it as hard as possible. That breaks the sods up and shakes the soil out. Now I would have liked to have left these sods to dry out a little while longer, but there's a threat of a storm coming. So I was hoping to get this as leveled out and as smooth as possible. That way it's ready as soon as I can, whether it rains or doesn't rain. I'll get the oats planted in here, and then at the end of the year, because the oats will help break up the sods as well, the oats will outcompete the grass and hopefully hold that back, and then we'll come back in here and probably disc it up again and like really mash it up. So I've talked way too long. I'm gonna go and bash my kidneys. Oh yeah, that's the hilarious part. I paid about $200 for these harrows. I paid about $150 for that cultivator, and by the way, there is wings for it, and the hydraulic for the wing, the rams for the wings are still there and all functioning. And the grain truck, I think I paid about $500 for it, and it runs. It just needs the brakes completely rebuilt. They do work, they just are in bad shape. But my plan is to get that truck roadworthy. Yes, all that free time I have. Oy, 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 oy. Well, we just had a big banger of a storm come by. Just made everything slightly wet, but not enough. Anyway, what are we at? Well, here's a funny thing. We've had this crush for quite a few years, and there's a certain somebody out there that will recognize this crush. This is our Nesbitt crush. We bought this at a farm sale, family friends, and the Piper Doug head cameraman, yeah, we bought this from them. So this is kind of what this is going to get used as, and we're still kind of trying to figure out how we're going to build this into here, but we will have this in here, and then we'll also have a maternity pen. That way we can do either or. I suppose we can cab out in this too, because this whole side wall folds out. This is Cormu, and the reason that might be familiar to some of you, this is our young mama that prolapsed. She's doing well, and that's 2 weeks past yesterday, and that's when the vet said we'd probably be looking to take the stitches out. And I started taking the stitches out, but she wouldn't stand still for it, and there's also a good reason for that. She's got a bit of an infection. Now, the vet gave her a whole course of LA and different things when they did the job, but hey Ruby, but I think just because having that stitch in there and in the heat, she's got a little bit of an infection. So I got the magic stuff right here. Actually just waiting for Joe to message me back. Yeah, I've got boards missing for some reason. I'll have to make some up. I don't know why she's kind of leaning in this way, but I've got the panel set out as far as it'll go. And that's one of the reasons why this crush is going to stay here, because I don't think this would be any good for bulls or big cows. So it'll be fine in here for these younger second calvers. So yeah, she's had, well, she was traumatized. Like I was having a hard time getting her in here. I think she was having visions of that other crush there and how she almost died. But so yeah, I just gave her, because it's like 1 ml for 30 pounds, and she's about 1,300, I think, around about there. So yeah, she's not happy. So I'm gonna let her back into where her calf is, because the only way I got her in here was to grab her calf and drag it in here. So I've got a bucket of chop there for her. Hey Mark. Funny. Nesbitt, and this is Mark. This is Mark the heifer. I'm sorry, darling. Get her a little shock there. Okay, I gotta let her out. She's already got her meds. So yeah, if you can figure out that the snow catcher strips are anywhere from 16 to 20 inches tall, some spots 2 feet tall, you kind of get an idea of where that's at. So this is the southwest corner. So the hilltops down on the southwest quarter. Well, it's a good cover. Gotta love this. We had a thunderstorm yesterday. That's dust. So yeah, like I said, you can kind of gauge by the stubble on the snow catchers. There's about, it's around about 20 inches tall. I wouldn't say it's any more than 2 feet. So like, and here's a lot lighter ground. This is where the section turns to sand. So that's the thing, is we're always going to have great first cuts, even if there's no rain, which we've had no rain. The snowpack gives us at least one really good cut. So even in the worst years, we have enough acres to guarantee that we have all the hay we need. So this is one of the fields that we're going to be rejuvenating. As you can see, there's not a lot out there. There's maybe 6 inches to 10 inches of actual growth, but it's still early. Like, we're not even June yet. But as part of the rotation, we're going to redo this field. Between this one and the one north of the dam are the ones first on the rotation. We'll burn it out, hopefully plow it under, and then put a crop on it, and then under sow it. So, come around to the next one. Here's the north quarter. It's, we put this one down 2 years ago. So yeah, she's probably going to be flowering here in the next couple of weeks. It's the one that will be getting put down by around about Canada Day, probably. This way, if we try to push for 3 cuts again, it has to be down before Canada Day. But yeah, she's a great looking crop. You can't see the snow catchers at all anymore. So yeah, looking good. Pastures are coming on slow. Like I said, we've had reasonable heat. Not a lot of moisture. The paddocks here are coming on really good because the rotational grazing and then the cover, the bale grazing on it. And there's a good bit of alfalfa still in there too. So, but yeah, I'm just about to head in there to go do some watering, because that should make it rain if we get the watering done. Okay, bring you back. What are we looking at, Piper Duck? Well, this is a field that the family used to own called the North George. And some who've been here for a long time, subscribers, they'll notice something missing right there. I'm trying to see if it's right about here. There used to be a driveway right there, all the way out to the middle of the field. And then there was a yard where there were still trees and some foundations. It is absolutely crazy how much change the new landowners have done. A lot of it's stuff that we wanted to do, but we just didn't have the equipment and the time. So, sad that we don't have the land anymore, but it's really cool to see it farmed to the utmost of its potential. We'll put it that way. Yeah, the Hunter family they're definitely go-getters. So that's the North George, and then Kitty Corner is the other field that we owned that went to in the same sale. I haven't been down here for a long time. So they've been kind of pushing back some of the bush. There's a dugout right there, and for the Europeans, a dugout is where they basically just dig a hole where there's a water run and bank up the dirt either side and use it as a water catchment. Technically, it's just used for cattle, like for watering cattle, but some people would fill their sprayers from them. South Sask Farmer on YouTube, he fills his sprayers from ponds and dugouts, but you got to use really good filtration. That way you're not putting a bunch of really bad stuff into your sprayer and you'll be plugging up all your nozzle bodies. So there's a little bit of more work done down here. Most people watching this will not have a clue what I'm pointing at, but there used to be a big bluff of trees right here as well. Now we had cleaned some of it off. This goes back to the whole, yes, I'm adhere to the clearing trees out where you don't want them. So these trees here, well, as you can see, there's a reason why they were here. There's a slough right here. So, and even right now it's dry, so this is about as much ground as you'll ever get done in here, unless they find a way to drain it, which is a bit of a risky business considering there's neighbors to the south and all around. Now this stuff here we had done already. We had cleaned this part off, but that was as far as we got it farmed as well, because there is just a limitation, like unless you can get permission to drain on somebody else's property, it's not going to happen. Yep, this part was the same. This was what we did. So yeah, it's kind of interesting to see the changes on the farm. There's another field up near to where we're going to be sowing the oats. I might, if I can stick it in the video, you'll see it maybe in one of the next clips. Nice looking crops though. It's wheat as far as I can tell. Oh, it's nice. Nice to have the Tango Express back on the farm. I honestly don't know how the other guys do it, how they do loader work and film at the same time. Honestly, I know I have a phone mount somewhere where I could film this. So, yes, this tractor is not front wheel assist yet. I think I covered this in one of the previous videos. I just wanted the tractor usable, and let's face it, for the foreseeable future, it doesn't need front wheel assist. Because most of it's just going to be like filling the mixer wagon and then running the post pounder. That's one of the big jobs this tractor is going to be doing, is fencing. Because that guy runs that. Big Blue was running the harrows, getting the tillage ready. Then he's going to come off that and go on to the cedar. Hopefully the cedar will be ready in the next couple of days. Liam and I were just over at the neighbor's farm picking up a bag of oat seed for that little field. So hopefully all going well in the next episode of As the Piper Turns, we will be seeding. So yeah, like I said, nice to have the Tango tractor back up and running. The one thing that I've noticed that I got kind of spoiled was the little John Deere had self-leveling loader on it, funnily enough. Whereas this big rig does not. So yeah, shocker. Okay, I'll bring you back. I'm gonna put some silage out. Whoa. See y'all next week. I hope. Teddy bye. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. It's not much, but it's lovely.